Guests in the audience tonight for this first meeting of the Planning Committee. Tonight's agenda lists all the items before committee for consideration. The recommended motions on tonight's agenda are shown in bold. Copies of the agenda have been posted on our website. Tonight's agenda is being live streamed, and any participation in the meeting proceedings will become part of the public record. The recording from the meeting will be published on the county's website immediately and can be viewed by selecting the streaming tab on the county's homepage at thecounty.ca. Personal information collected as a result of this public hearing is collected under the authority of the Planning Act and will be used to assist in making a decision on this matter. All names, addresses, opinions, and comments may be collected and may form part of the minutes, which will be available to the public. The purpose of public meetings is to present planning applications in a public forum as required by the Planning Act. No decisions are made at public meetings concerning applications unless otherwise noted. The public meeting is held to gather public opinion. An exception to this rule is combined reports, which consolidates the public meeting and comprehensive reports. These applications are deemed by staff as straightforward and routine. This business practice has been in place for a number of years and is received by the applicants as efficient customer service and effective use of committee time. Please note that staff use discretion in determining if an application can be a combined public meeting comprehensive report to expedite the approval process. Public meeting reports are provided to inform the public of all relevant information. Information gathered is then referred back to planning staff for the preparation of a comprehensive report and recommendation to the Planning Committee. This means that after the meeting tonight, staff will be considering the comments made by the public in their further review of the applications. When this review is completed, a report will be prepared making a recommendation for action to this committee. The recommendation is typically to approve with conditions or to deny. This committee then makes a recommendation on the applications to the next Planning Committee agenda under Section 7. Council has the final say in the applications from the county's perspective. Following council decision notice, notice will be circulated in accordance with the Planning Act. If a person or public body would otherwise have an ability to appeal a decision of the council to the local planning appeal tribunal, but the person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the municipal clerk before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision. Bylaws listed on this agenda provide the full force of law to previous decisions of council. As matters of housekeeping, in the event of fire, please use the applicable exits wherever you are tuning in from. And if everyone could please turn off or mute their cell phones. So we'll move to item number 2, confirmation of the agenda. Could I have a mover and a seconder to do that, please? Councillor Margetson, seconded by Councillor Forrester. All those in favor? Or actually, if you could read that, please, sorry.
This is a Margetson-Forrester motion that the agenda for the Planning Committee meeting of July 29th, 2020 be confirmed.
Thank you. All those in favor? And that carries. So move to item 3, disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Does anybody have anything to declare? Any item on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move into the Planning Committee. Could I have a motion to move into the Planning Committee, please? Councillor Bailey, seconded by Councillor McMahon.
This is a Bailey-McMahon motion that Council now move into Planning Committee for the purposes of hearing statutory public meetings with respect to planning applications held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act.
Thank you. All those in favor? And that carries. And we'll move the chair over to Councillor Prinzen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and welcome to everybody. I am Councillor Prinzen, and I will be chairing the meeting for the planning section tonight. These meetings are public meetings as required under the Planning Act and will deal with the planning applications listed on the agenda. If you wish to be notified of the decision of the County of Prince Edward on the application, you must make a written request to the clerk of the County of Prince Edward or make an electronic comment on the application. So starting at 5.1, a consent and rezoning application, file number B16-20 and Z10-20, Harry and Ann Holm, 999 County Road 13, Ward of South Marysburgh. Could I have somebody put that on the floor, please? Councillor Hirsch, seconded by Councillor Bailey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a Hirsch-Bailey motion that Information Report DS 27/2020 of Development Services dated July 29th, 2020 regarding consent file number B16-20 and zoning bylaw amendment file number Z10-20 be received, and that a recommendation for decision be brought forward to a future meeting reflecting the input provided at this statutory public meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Hirsch. Is the applicant or agent present? And if they have any additional comments to include with the public meeting, staff report, please.
James, are your applicants going to provide an overview, or is there an agent?
Zoom. Glenn or Harry, would you guys like anything to add or share with council regarding your application?
I don't know if you can hear me, James. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Harry.
Yeah. No, I think nothing to add. There was something that wasn't quite right with the with one of the video things about the property from the aerial view. The dimensions are wrong there, but we can work that out after, right?
Through the chair, I believe you're speaking about the our GIS aerials. Yeah, through the chair.
No.
Green, oh, sorry. Go ahead, Harry.
Really? Why would I not wait 30 years of my right? I love it.
Okay, through the chair, Harry. Yes, if there is some dimensions that are off with the zoning maps or the GIS maps, we can correct those. Is it to do with the dimensions you submitted through your survey sketch?
This is Glenn Holm.
No.
Okay, all right. Well, then, yes, then as long as the dimensions are okay on the survey sketch, then we should be good to go.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Does the staff have any additional comments?
Through the chair, no, we do not.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to the subject application? Seeing none. Does council have any questions or comments on the application?
No. Yeah, Glenn, can you?
This is Glenn. No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Does
Yeah,
council have any questions? Seeing none, I will now call the vote. All in favor? And that carries.
What does that mean? Ghosted means that they're still wrong. I don't get it. It's just like when I finally found a good group of friends. I haven't had that since Lola moved to Preston.
I'll just give Madam Clerk a second to...
No, Lola moved on.
On to agenda 5.2, consent application file number B29-20, Hickory Homes Limited, 67 McFaul Road, Ward of Hillier. Could I have somebody please put that on the floor? Councillor Margetson, seconded by Councillor McMahon.
Thank you. This is a Margetson McMahon motion that the information report DS-76/2020 of Development Services dated July 29th, 2020 regarding consent file number B29-20 be received, and that with a recommendation for decision be brought forward to a future meeting reflecting the public feedback from this statutory meeting.
Thank you very much. Is the applicant or agent present? And do they have any additional comments they would like to include with the public meeting staff report?
Yes, it would be Kyle Denowden. Oh, Carly.
Hi.
Oh no, so this is Carl. That's Carly Murphy. She's our assistant
Yes.
planner. We're looking for Kyle Denowden. Sorry,
Oh.
Kyle, not Carly.
Right there. Are you queuing Kyle? Trying to queue Kyle? He's joining, thank you. Kyle's live. Welcome, Kyle. Do you have any additional comments you would like to include with the public meeting staff report?
Sorry. What was that?
Do you have any additional comments you would like to include with the public meeting staff report for this severance on McFaul Road?
It was just I want clarification on condition 9. There was, I think, miscommunication with the wells. There's an existing well on the existing house. And the severed lot has a new well on it. I think it was interpreted as an existing well was on the new severed lot. So I just want that kind of clarified. That's how it's set up right now.
Okay. So I'm trusting staff is jotting that down.
Yes, through the chair. Yes, we've made note, and we will, when we come back on August 12th, condition 9 will reflect that there are 2 wells on the, there's a well on the severed and the retained. We will continue to add, because it is a new well, we will want to ensure that the new lot still pumps to 3 gallons per minute. So we will still request a well pump test, but obviously he will not have to dig or drill a new well.
Thanks, James. So that's all from our applicant and agent, I am guessing. Is that correct, Kyle?
Yes.
Thank you. James, do you have anything else besides the well condition 9?
Through the chair, no, we do not.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to this subject application? Seeing none, does council have any questions or comments on this application? Seeing none, I will now call the vote. All in favor? And that carries.
Yes, the next applicant is David Doornbos, and he will be represented by Watson Surveyors. So it would either be Jennifer Matthews or a Keith Watson. There's Keith.
As Keith joins the meeting, we will move on to 5.3, consent and rezoning application. File number B33-20, B34-20, and Z26-20, David Doornbos, 536 Black Road, Ward of Sophiasburgh. Could I have somebody move that to the floor, please? Councillor St. Jean, seconded by Councillor Harper.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's a St. Jean Harper motion that the information report of development services dated July 29, 2020 regarding consent file number B33-20, B34-20, and zoning bylaw amendment file number Z26-20 26-20 be received, and that a recommendation for decision be brought forward to a future meeting reflecting the feedback from this statutory meeting.
Thank you, Councillor St. Jean. Is the applicant or agent present, and do they have any additional comments they would like to include with the public meeting staff report?
Keith, I think you're on mute.
Hi, Keith. Can you hear us? Hi, Keith.
Hello. Sorry about that. Yes, I've reviewed the conditions with the Doornbos, the 12 conditions, and we have no concerns with those, and we hope to fulfill those within a year if it's approved tonight.
Thank you, Keith. Does staff have any additional comments they would like to make at this time?
Through the chair, I just want to clarify with Mr. Watson that it is not going to be, the file will not be approved tonight. Rather, it will be come back with a recommendation for approval on August 12th.
Yes, I understand that. Sorry, I knew that. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to the subject application? Seeing none. Council, do we have any questions or comments? Seeing none. I will now call the vote. All in favor? And that carries.
Thank you.
Hi. Yes, this will be Terrence Glover, and he might be joined by his applicant. Sorry. Will be joined by his applicant, Donna Grice.
Okay, 5.4, consent and rezoning application, file number B36-20
I'm muted.
and Z28-20, Hessel and Gertrude Dykstra, 2000 and 2004, County Road 1, Ward of Bloomfield, Hallowell. Could I have somebody put that on the floor, please? Councillor Nyman, seconded by Councillor Bailey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's a Nyman Bailey motion that the information report of development services dated July 29, 2020 regarding consent file number B36-20 and zoning bylaw amendment file number Z26-20 be received, that a recommendation for decision be brought forward to a future meeting reflecting the public feedback from this statutory meeting.
Thank you very much. The applicant or the agent is present. If they have any additional comments they would like to include with the public meeting staff report.
Terrence?
Yes.
Could you give us would you like to give us an overview of the application?
Sure. Thank you very much. And I apologize. It's a little bit scrambled when I'm looking at the auditorium. So for the hearing, that's why I couldn't hear you. Thank you for clarifying that. Thank you for letting me present this evening in this unusual situation. As the staff report's gone through, the lands are currently rural lands in the official plan. In the zoning, there's a mix of rural 1, rural 2, rural 3, environmental protection, etc. We're not proposing any development here other than the creation of a new lot, which would encapsulate the existing dwellings. There's 2 dwellings on the property. We're looking to sever one so that there'll be 1 dwelling per lot, retained lot and severed lot. The proposed severance has no impact on the environmental protection or the natural heritage area of the site. It's basically just the front of the site, with exception of a small width of a right-of-way for a well at the back of the property, because that's the closest area we could find water on the site. Currently, the existing house and currently the mother's house, which is to the east, and the daughter's house, which is to the left. So 2000 is the mother's and 2004 is the daughter's. They share the same water line. What we're looking to do is create a new water line, one for the mother's house and one for the daughter's house, each contained on their own lot, either by the actual lot dimensions or the right-of-way to that lot. And that's why you'll see in the graphic there's right-of-ways from the well down through the mother's property, 2000, and then from the daughter's property, 2004, through the property to the mother's house. So there's two separate right-of-ways for acting to benefit each of the properties. But in the end, basically, we have two wells, we have two lines, one to each house. That's what the point of that is. We're looking for a zoning bylaw amendment as well to bring this into a better conformity with the zoning that's in place. So it's the RR2 zoning is what we're looking for, but it's site specific because the frontage on RR2, I believe, is 60 meters where we have 50 meters. And the reason that is because of the widths of the driveways that are currently there. We understand that there is an issue with the barn and mother's driveway being so close to the daughter's driveway. And what we're asking, or what we've been asked, is to close that driveway and to create a new driveway for the mother's property. And we have no problem with that. We can do that. Other than that, I looked through the conditions that are presented, and they're all acceptable. Again, I'd like to reiterate that there is no new development here. It's just taking two dwellings that are on one lot or one rural acreage lot and taking one of the properties out of that, putting it into a proper lot frontage and lot area for an RR2 zone, which is similar to one just beside it. Again, you're allowed, not again, sorry, but you're permitted under the official plan to sever up to 3 lots since 1998 if none have been severed. None have been severed from this property, so this is the first instance. And again, you're permitted 1 dwelling per lot. The reason there's 2 is probably historically through the farming that they are first identified as 2. They were never severed, so we're looking to sever it now. I'm willing to answer any questions you have. Thank you for the brief overview that I provided, and hopefully there's any concerns or questions I can happily answer them.
Thank you very much for that overview. Does staff have any additional comments at this time?
Yes, through the chair, we just want to clarify one of the conditions was to remove the existing driveway that goes to the barn, and I believe 2004 County Road 1. There was concern from the applicant, and I spoke with the agent that we were going to make them close and then construct, and they wouldn't have a entrance to their existing house during that time. I'd just like to clarify that is not the instance. The condition reads to the satisfaction of the director. I spoke with the director of development services today, who agreed that the existing driveway will be used as a temporary entrance while the new entrance to the retained land is being built. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to this subject application? Seeing none, does council have any questions or comments? Councillor McNaughton.
Yes, thank you. James, I have a question, through the chair, I have a question for you regarding those driveways. So those driveways have been in existence for some time. Have either caused a problem?
Through the chair, no, they have not. But now that one of the main reasons we are asking that the driveway be moved is the existing driveway would go over the severed lot onto the retained. So it would be another easement we'd have to do. And they are pretty close together. So the best way to fix that problem would be to have an entrance onto the retained solely, and it will as well allow for proper separation to today's municipal standards.
Follow-up?
Yeah, possibly a follow-up. So, and the driveway that's going to be removed, can I ask what's it constructed out of? Is it concrete or is it gravel or?
Through the chair, I believe it is gravel.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Margetson?
I just had a comment to the chair. I remember, I think if I recall correctly, when McAvoy did his severances next door, we did an MDS from this barn, and he's putting his houses way back in the orchard because of that barn. Just seems like things go around in circles. Do you remember that, Phil?
I remember that. And I see condition 9 is now converting this barn to dry storage.
Yeah.
Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, I will now call the vote. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. I appreciate your time.
5.5, consent and rezoning application, file numbers B38-20, B39-20, and Z31-20, Blending Inc., east of 2736 County Road 13. Can I have somebody put that on the floor, please? Councillor McMahon, seconded by Councillor Forrester.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. McMahon, Forrester, motion that the information report DS 78/2020 of Development Services dated July 29, 2020 regarding consent file numbers B38-20, B39-20, and the zoning bylaw amendment file number Z31-20 be received, and that a recommendation for decision be brought forward to a future meeting reflecting the public feedback from the statutory meeting.
Thank you very much. Is the applicant or agent present, and do they have any additional comments to include with the public meeting staff report?
Yes, the name of the applicant would be Anna Zach. Is Anna there? But it could be, you can try Matthew. The only contact I've had on this file would be with Anna.
Oh, hi, it's Anna Zach here.
Oh, hey, Anna.
Hi.
Welcome, Anna. Do you have any additional comments you want to include with the public meeting staff report?
No, I don't have any specific comments.
Thank you very much. Does staff have any additional comments they would like to mention at this time?
Yes, through the chair. Through the chair, yes, we would. I would like to firstly just introduce council to Carly Murphy. She's our assistant planner. She's worked with us during the summer. She is going into her second.
Hi, it's Anna Zach here.
Hi, Anna.
Hi.
Welcome, Anna. At Ryerson, and she was a big part of this report. She helped us out, and so I'd like to thank her for that. I would like to take this also this opportunity. It was not Carly's to blame. It was I mislabeled in the body of this report the address. I noted it was County Road 9 when it should have been County Road 13. But other than that, we do not have any comments.
Thank you for clarifying that. Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to this subject application? Seeing none. Council, any questions or comments from members of council? Seeing none. Okay, I will call the vote. All in favor? And that carries. Moving right along. Okay, 5.6, consent and rezoning application file numbers B40-20 and Z32-20, Andrea Pyman and Yari Urangu. Okay, I will call the vote. All in favor? We did that. But anyways, we're not on the next one for 1152B, County Road 3, Ward of Marysburgh. Could I have somebody please put that on the floor? Councillor Margetson, seconded by Councillor McNaughton.
Thank you. This is a Margetson-McNaughton motion that information report DS 74/2020 of Development Services dated July 29th, 2020 regarding consent file number B40-20 Z32-20 and zoning bylaw amendment file number Z32-20 be received. That a report with a recommendation for decision be brought forward to a future meeting reflecting the feedback from this statutory meeting.
Thank you very much. Is the applicant or agent present, and do they have any additional comments to include with the public meeting staff report?
Keith Watson is the agent. We have no additional comments we're just here to answer questions and support the application.
Thank you very much, Keith. Does staff have any additional comments?
Through the chair, no, we do not.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak? Seeing none, does any members of council have any questions or comments on this application?
There's a big picture.
Seeing none, I will now call the vote. All in favor? And that carries.
Steve Orr is next.
5.7, consent rezoning application, file numbers B43-20 and Z37-20, Steve Orr and Cheryl Bishop, 213 Mitchell's Crossword, Ward of North Marysburgh. Could I have somebody put that on the floor? Councillor Bailey, seconded by Councillor McNaughton.
There's a Bailey McNaughton motion that the information report of development services dated July 29th, 2020 regarding consent file number B43-20 and zoning bylaw amendment file number Z37-20 be received, that a report with a recommendation for decision be brought forward to a future meeting reflecting the public feedback from this statutory meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Bailey. Is the applicant or agent present, and do they have any additional comments to include with the public meeting staff report?
He's not there. I've spoken with Steve. He is in agreement with everything. If he is not there, here. And I'd just like to recognize that last meeting we had a very similar application. It was also Steve's, but there was an administrative error in which there was multiple copies of a survey sketch, and ultimately the wrong one was brought forward. Therefore, the proper one is now in the report, and we are moving forward with this one. Thank you.
Thank you, James. I will take that as your additional comments as well, or do you have more on top of that?
No, that's it.
Perfect, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to this file? Subject application, seeing none? Does any members of council have any questions or comments? Still seeing none, I will now call the vote. All in favor? And that carries. Okay, so within 15 days of council's decision, a notice of decision will be mailed out as prescribed, advising of the decision, the conditions, if any, and the date of which the 20-day appeal period to the local planning appeal tribunal expires. If no appeals are received, council's decision is final. Any person who wishes to receive notice of decision of council must submit a written request to the municipal clerk. Okay, so now I will look for somebody to move us back. Section 6.1, Councillor St. Jean and Councillor Harper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. St. Jean Harper motion the planning committee now rise and resume sitting as council.
All in favor? Back to you, Mr. Mayor.
So that moves us to item 7, decision items for consideration, item 7.1. If we could have a mover and a seconder to put this on the floor, please. Councillor Maynard, seconded by Councillor Prinzen. If you could read that, please, Councillor Maynard.
Thank you, Your Worship. Maynard Prinzen motion that the report of development services dated July 29, 2020 regarding zoning bylaw amendment file number Z64-18 be received. That zoning application file number Z64-18 Rollins Investment Inc. for lands described as part of lots 20 and 21 concession 3 military tract being parts 1 to 7 on reference plan 47R 8035, save and accept part 1 on 47R 8530 in the ward of Hallowell be approved.
Okay, thank you. I'll ask staff if they have any additional comments to include with the staff report. Are there any comments from staff? Okay.
Yes, sorry, through the chair.
Okay, Matt.
Not sure if it was circulated or not. We did get a late correspondence from Picton Properties, and I have had an opportunity to go through it briefly, and I could speak to it if there's questions.
Okay, and that was the correspondence from Jamie Chisholm. Is Jamie making comments? Madam Clerk, is he on deck to make comments?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, he was provided with the Zoom login details, but I have not heard back that he will make comment. Matthew, have you talked to Jamie?
I have not spoken to Jamie, no.
Okay, perhaps you could give us the highlights of the letter, because it did come in late. Matt?
Sorry, through the chair, I didn't quite catch the question.
The letter from Mr. Chisholm did come in late. Is there anything you want to bring forward to council about the contents of the letter?
Nothing specific, but some of the points that were risen in the letter, they are specific to detailed engineering and site plan approval, and so there's some good comments in here, and we'll go through them and add them to any future requirements. There's comments on the design of Street A and some of the requirements for mitigation for the commercial holdings and the R3 zones that are being proposed. In both of those cases, there's holding provisions and site plan requirements attached to those zones. So there is an opportunity to look at additional mitigation, fencing, landscaping, those types of tools when the time comes, either through detailed design or site plan approval.
Okay, well, I'll ask if the applicant or the agent is present and whether they are in agreement with the conditions of approval as outlined in the report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Brendan O'Connor. I'm a land use planning consultant. I also have Arnold Vandermeer here. He is our consulting engineer. We reviewed the report, and we are in support of the recommendation.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that who wishes to speak to the application? Seeing none, are there any questions for members of council? Councillor Margetson.
I have a question.
Yes, this question is to Matt. Matt, from what you just responded in terms of the issues that Mr. Chisholm raised in his correspondence, would it be accurate to say that those could be either dealt with in terms of final approval and fulfilling the draft conditions, or site plan control, or the holding provisions that you've put on the commercial and high density residential?
Thank you, Councillor Margetson. Through the chair, I've got the letter in front of me. I've got some notes. I'll just go through it maybe in a bit more detail. The first point, which deals with buffering and sidewalks, and requests pedestrian movement improvements along Street A. In the draft plan conditions for the Roland subdivision, there is requirements for a multi-use pathway along the west side of Street A, as well as a sidewalk along the east side of Street A. And Vandermeer Limited has provided a conceptual street view of what that would look like, and it is under review right now. So that comment about improved pedestrian connections and cycling is being addressed through the draft plan conditions. There was a comment about green space and buffering So the draft plan conditions do speak to fencing around the site, and through the detailed design process, we'll look into that further. There are landscape requirements in the highway commercial zone. There's a requirement for 35% landscaping. So there is opportunities at the site plan stage for the commercial properties to be landscaped and to be properly buffered between them and the residential uses. There's a comment on parking, and the unit sizes and the exact number of units have not been determined, but they will be determined prior to finalizing the zoning and releasing the hold and approving the site plan agreement. And so there might be some requirements for additional traffic studies to be done on those properties. So Jamie's correct on pointing that out. I can't get into too much of the infrastructure costing because that was a separate agreement between Picton Properties and the county and Rollins. There was a comment on off-site improvements, and I can say that in the draft plan conditions for Rollins, there is requirements for off-site improvements along Talbot Street. And the majority of the comments, traffic calming and commercial development, they'll be dealt with through the detailed design of the subdivision. And then for the commercial lands,
That's what I wanted.
These comments will be looked at further when a site plan application comes in. So kind of a mixture of items that will be dealt with through the draft plan conditions and items that will be dealt with through detailed design. And then some of these items will be dealt with at a site plan control stage. So there's a bit of there's going to be different timings on when all these issues will come back to us, but they will be dealt with one way or the other.
That's yes. Thank you, Matt.
Okay, just before I get to Councillor Maynard, is there anybody watching on Zoom that has any questions or comments about the application?
Yes, I have a concern. Like, be allowed to speak?
Yeah, if you could just state your name.
My name is Fred Lester. I represent the property that houses PFAC at this point. We have made a number of communications with the county concerning surface water runoff that leaves the Sobeys and Rollins property, crosses the highway and enters our properties. So at this point, we have had all of our discussions have been with the Sobeys development, who have confirmed, and I believe with county's input on that as well, that the culverts that are being installed as we speak today are being overall reduced to a smaller impact on land, the waters entering the lands on the south side of the highway. Apparently there are 3 culverts now that are being, they're going to be removed and replaced with 1 pair of culverts that altogether are a smaller size. That was designed to handle the volume of surface runoff from the excess catchment of the Sobeys development. The Rollins development does not seem to address where their water is going. All of the indications are that the runoff from 70 covered by asphalt will now run into lot 161, which is a soaking pond or a storm pond. The excess of the storm pond then runs to somewhere. So our only concern in all of this is that the agreements that are in place right now that we are okay with will not permit any more surface runoff to discharge from the north side of the highway onto the south side of the highway. Because as you're aware, our concern is that those waters will, the surge of those waters in the 100-year storm have the potential of flooding our property. Since the culverts that leave the Millennium Trail are also undersized, in the event of that 100-year storm, our properties become flooded as they were about 15 years ago. So it is paramount that the culverts being installed now under the highway are not increased any more than what has been agreed to this point, regardless of what the water management system is for the Rollins development. And I would like to get on record that this change will not, there will not be any change that would adversely affect our rights.
Okay, well,
Thank you.
Matt, have you got anything to comment on Mr. Lester's comments?
Through the chair, unfortunately, we don't have our development engineer with us tonight, but I know that Van Meer is working with our staff on a stormwater management plan. Arnold's here, I believe, tonight, so I'm not sure if he can speak to the design, but the design will be incorporated into the subdivision agreement. And my understanding is that all the water will be drained to the pond and then discharged from there. And I'm not 100% sure. I'll leave that to the experts to maybe work those details out. But I don't know, Arnold, if you're there, if you want to speak to the design.
Who's there, Matt, that could speak to this?
You got to unmute Arnold.
Okay, do you hear me?
There you are.
Yep, go ahead.
Do you hear me?
Go ahead.
Arnold, can you speak to the stormwater design?
Arnold's been muted again.
Oh, okay, now I think I'm on.
There you go.
Yes, we are working with the county on addressing the stormwater management for this development. That block is being developed just to the, I'm going to say to the north of the Sobeys property as a stormwater pond. And that pond is being sized to address storage to bring it back to maintain it at the pre-development condition for up to the 100-year storm event. And it will not be discharging down to Street A storm sewer. It's been, when Jewel was involved with that project, it's being directed to more or less to the west towards the railway track where the culverts are. And the plan will be that there will be no increase in runoff from the Rollins development to the south side of Highway 2. It'll be maintained at pre-development conditions for all storm events.
Okay, thank you. That okay, Mr. Lester?
I'm sorry, I was cut off there. Are you asking my opinion on that?
Yeah, does that answer your question?
Yes, I guess it does address the question. I think, and I don't have a problem with the Rollins development at all. I'm quite pleased to see it going in there. I think we will probably have some discussion with county at a later date concerning this continuing nuisance. So, and it doesn't need to be something that holds up the discussion of this file. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Maynard.
Thank you. To whichever staff would like to field this for my information. So what we're doing this evening is is listening to comments on all the various rezonings now that there's a better concept of where buildings will place and what type of buildings will be placed where in this subdivision. Because we have a draft plan of subdivision, and we're not looking at site planning or engineering tonight. Just wondering if the concerns we've heard tonight are actually germane to what we're doing, which is rezoning into specific areas for specific areas of use.
Yeah, so through the chair, I think the concerns that we've heard tonight, both from Jamie and from Mr. Lester, probably would have been better dealt with at the draft plan approval stage and the official plan amendment stage. Certainly with Picton Properties, the comments in there could have found their way into draft plan conditions. To bring them forward at the zoning stage is tricky because there isn't ways to approve a conditional zoning. It's simply a condition of draft plan approval that they're seeking approval for tonight. Having said that, the concerns with Mr. Lester, I think are legitimate, and I encourage him to reach out to our engineering staff, and we can, identify what those issues are and incorporate them into our review. But in terms of the zoning tonight, we're really just identifying where single-family homes will be located, where the multi-unit residential properties will be located, where the commercial property will be located, and that was all really identified at the official plan stage and through the draft plan approval stage. So this application is really just implementing the decisions that we made back last September.
Thank you for the clarification.
Mr. Chair, can I make another observation? It's not to do with the stormwater.
Go ahead, Mr. Lester.
If I may. What you're approving on your agenda is item number 7.1. I'm looking at page 177 of 227. There are some significant typos that you must not approve as written. For instance, you have written that there are 264 residential units, but in brackets it says 261. You say 145 units, and in brackets 139, 61 units, in brackets 66. So those are some obvious corrections that simply need to be made before you approve this as written.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Do you want to weigh in on?
Yes, so through the chair, those are corrections that we made at last minute in the planning staff report. They do not reflect the bylaw or the schedule or the contents of the provisions that are presented for you tonight. Those are just numbers in the planning report that have been changing probably prior to the draft plan approval stage, where we're still tinkering with the exact number of units that were going to be approved through the subdivision process.
Okay, so these are final numbers. Okay. Councilor Nyman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple quick questions. So Street A comes from Talbot Street to Highway 33, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And at Highway 33 and Street A is street lights, or traffic signals, I guess, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I just find it ironic that the letter that we received late is talking about traffic calming and safety and everything else about traffic, when we missed the opportunity, when at that intersection, we should have had the roundabout. If we're so worried about traffic calming, we should have worried about it right from the start. But anyways, I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay. Any other questions before I call the vote? Okay, I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor, please. Show of hands. And that carries. Thank you. Moves us to item 7.2. File number B1120, B1220, B1320, Z820, 103-68423 Canada Inc., Re9 Hill Street, and I believe we have some members of the joining us by Zoom who want to comment on this, but if we could have a mover and a seconder to put this on the floor, please. Councillor McNaughton, seconded by Councillor Margetson.
Thank you. So, just getting to this top of this long list. So, this is the report, the McNaughton-Margetson motion that report DS-81-2020 of Development Services dated March 18th, 2020, regarding consent file numbers B11-20, B12-20, B13-20, and zoning bylaw amendment file number Z8-20 be received. The consent file number B11-20, B12-20, B13-20, 103-68423 Canada Inc. for lands described as part lots 70, 71, 72, 75, and Plan 24 in the ward of Picton be approved subject to the following conditions. Am I going to get away with 1 through 15?
Yes, you will.
Oh, I am. That's good. Okay. Oof. And that zoning application file number Z8-20-103. I lost it when I touched my screen. 103-68423 Canada Inc. for lands described as part lot 70, 71, 72, 75, Plan 24 in the ward of Picton be finally approved.
Okay, thank you. Staff, have you got any additional comments to include with the staff report?
Through the chair, 2 points. The first one is that we want to acknowledge that there was an error in the notice, the public notice that went out for this application for tonight. The top of the notice referred to the property as being in North Marysburgh, and this property is in the ward of Picton. So that's the first item I wanted to clarify. The second item is that we're requesting a minor change in condition number 14. And the condition refers to the encroachment agreement with the owner of 6 Fairfield Street for the existing walkway and landscaping. And we'd like to add to the end of that sentence, and that the same be registered against title, so that the encroachment agreement that we're referring to will in fact be registered against title. So that's just the one change to the condition.
Okay. That's it for comments? Okay.
Yes.
Is the applicant or the applicant's agent present? And are they in agreement with the conditions of approval as outlined?
Through the chair, I had an opportunity to speak with Mr. Cleve, and he's okay with the conditions. I don't know if he's here tonight.
Don't see him. He hasn't joined us, has he, Madam Clerk? No? Okay. No, he hasn't. Now, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to the subject application? Anybody joining us from Zoom? And I believe we have 2 people that are coming in. Madam Clerk?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Colleen, would you like to make your comments now, please?
Colleen, can you hear us?
Okay, sorry.
Well, there you are. Okay.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Ferguson and councillors. We are Peter and Colleen Janak at 358 Main Street in Picton. We're once again objecting, as we did on the May 12th council meeting, all the bylaws as just listed. This directly impacts our property as we have the right-of-way with the driveway for the property at 360 Main Street and our property, which is stated in our deed. We spoke at the meeting on May the 12th. All of our issues are still standing, and not one of the issues has been resolved or addressed by the owner, Mr. Cleve, to us. He's ignored all of our calls and emails. We met with Matt Coffey at our home on June the 3rd, and he was basically a spokesperson for Mr. Cleve and was asking how that we can make this work. He was standing in the lot in question. We showed him our concerns and our issues. The way that we can make it work is not to have a house go up on the Main Street portion of this lot. We wanted to work with Mr. Cleve, and he chose not to work with us and basically go behind our back and went against what he told us in the fall when we met with him. We would like to assume that you've read all of our concerns and comments from the first meeting and this meeting, and that's why we're opposing that this be passed in tonight's meeting. We are aware that the people that live on Hill Street think this new build is great, but it doesn't impact the value of their home or property directly, or the access to their homes or property as it does ours. We asked at the last meeting for an environmental assessment to be done on the Hill Street property where the Picton Manor stood. That hasn't happened. It was an old hospital and nursing home. Besides the asbestos that was ripped down, what is lurking in the grounds? Shouldn't we all be concerned about the health and welfare of the property owners and the future property owners? This really needs to happen and not be ignored. But our main concern is with the 360 Main Street property that is attached to the Hill Street property. Last fall, Mr. Cleve met with us and told us many things. He told us that he would only better our property value, that he wanted to work with us. He knew our interest in buying or owning that lot and not have to share a driveway anymore. He wanted to utilize the back of the lots and put a fourth house there. He was full of non-existent promises that we only wish we had in writing versus a chat in our backyard. When the notice came out in the spring, we emailed Mr. Cleve as we were waiting from the fall to hear back from him after he was to talk to the planner. He then said in an email to us that he'd spent too much money taking down the old manor and he wanted to recoup his costs and put a house up, when he promised us in person that he had zero desire to do anything with the Main Street frontage and was going to leave it as is. Again, this is part of the reason we are objecting this motion. Common sense needs to prevail. That home that was on that property was destroyed in 2009, and it had been in disrepair for years, and it was used as storage. It was torn down when we were away on vacation, and we came home to holes in our siding from the machinery, a cracked foundation, and a caving-in driveway. And this is very worrisome, especially if there's going to be a new home going up in that spot. And again, they're revising the size of that property on the 360 Main Street. How can a new home be built on the existing footprint when there's a proposal for a change in the proposed footage? That was stated on page 96 of the May 12th agenda. It said, in the opinion of staff, that the reduction in frontage for a total of 2.6 meters is appropriate and will facilitate construction in the location of the former dwelling. But if it's going to be smaller, how can it go in the same location as the former dwelling? And how can this exist when the house parameters is so tiny as it is, with a very minimal lot size? We asked Mr. Coffey about it over the phone yesterday, and he couldn't recall any of that information. I did pull it up and send it to him. When the planner himself can't answer the question or point where on the property it's going to be reduced, which we asked when he met with us on June the 3rd, we're just a little bit concerned about the vague information and not being shared with the property owners, and it seems to be very one-sided towards Mr. Cleve. We've also asked numerous times for a current survey. That hasn't happened. And we're also very, very concerned about the parking bylaw. In the county bylaw, section 5.1.1, for a single dwelling home, there's supposed to be space for 2 cars to park. And with this proposed house going up in this lot, plus the specific meter allotment for parking for 2 cars, there's no way their cars, our cars, the driveway and the houses will be able to coexist on this small little piece of property and be able to get in and out of the driveway without making a 35-point turn. Not to mention, vehicle size and everything, unless we're all going to drive little smart cars. Maybe back in the day when the houses were originally built, it would work, but not in today's lifestyle. We sent out an email inviting everybody to come and see the property just to see our concerns versus seeing it on a piece of paper. It just won't work. It's silly to look at it on a piece of paper and then to see it in person and think, how in the world can a house and cars fit in here and people be able to get in and out? It just will not work. Our tax dollars contribute equally as anybody else's, and we just want to have equal opportunity to plead our case and to be heard and to be understood why this can't work. The house that was there was vacant for numerous years, and when we bought our house, it was filled with raccoons and empty equipment. We knew we had the right-of-way at all times common over the lot 75, which is on our deed. So we're not really sure why that's being brought up tonight, because that is on our deed. We've also maintained all the snow removal and the lawn maintenance since we moved in, because nobody else has ever done it. Although we have stopped cutting the grass on the 360 Main Street frontage, so it's getting a little bit long and heckly looking, so somebody might want to look into that bylaw for that as well. We were willing to work with Mr. Cleve. We thought he was willing to work with us, and then we just get the information that he's putting a house up on this property, and we're just very, very discouraged. Peter's lived in Picton all of his life, and we've raised our kids here. Is it really fair to have our lives uprooted so he can recoup his cost from the tear down of Picton Manor? Does anybody care about people actually living in the county anymore? We'll have to sell our trailer. We'll probably have to sell a vehicle. We won't be able to get in and out of the driveway in the wintertime when there's snowbanks without knocking on the neighbor's door to try to jockey around vehicles. Is this fair just for the sake of Mr. Cleve to make a fast few bucks to recoup his costs from ripping down Picton Manor? It's not fair to us. Will we have to park our cars on Main Street and our trailer on Main Street to be able to access our personal items? A new house won't fit and cars won't fit. It just can't work, and we simply do not approve.
Okay, let me ask if any members of council have questions of you while we're here. Councillor Nyman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple, but I didn't see any other hands up, so would I be able to ask my 2 or 3 that I have?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So, I just want to be sure, are we asking to the deputy or to staff?
Well, start with the deputy.
I'll wait for staff. I'll wait for staff.
Okay, and any other questions of the deputy? Oh, see none. Okay, then Councillor Nyman, ask your questions of staff.
Thank you. So I just want to confirm that I understand. So in number 14, the encroachment agreement is going to be registered on title. Is that correct?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Okay. Thank you. So now it comes to the right of way. Condition 15, it states about the right of way, legal right of way to the owners of 358 Main Street, in addition to the retained portion of 360 Main Street, is included if required. So that right of way is already there. That right of way has to stay there. So is that going to be on title too?
So through the chair, the way that condition is intended is that right of way will remain. So what I don't want to see happen is that the new lots get created and for some reason, through a legal process, that those right-of-ways disappear. So when the final surveys come in, they need to meet that condition. That right-of-way needs to be where it is right now. And I don't anticipate it to be a problem because we're dealing with retained lands. It's not part of the severed portion. It is retained land, so I anticipate that the description will remain the same, but it's just to make sure that remains the case.
So I guess for me, I don't really like the wording if it or is included if required. I think, it is required. So I like that condition changed if at all possible. I don't know how you do it or what wording you want in there. But that to me saying, well, maybe we'll take it out so I just want that condition firmed up. I don't know how you word it.
Through the chair, we can remove the words "if required." The intent of the condition remains the same.
Okay, as long as that right away stays there, and it's on title or however it is, but that. So if you telling us that you're going to do that, then I'm okay with that. My next item is condition number 8. The applicant is required to pay for all costs to install new water and sanitary services. Hill Street to be severed and retained lands. Existing water and sanitary services, lateral connections from Fairfield Street and Hill Street shall be decommissioned at the applicant's cost to the satisfaction of the Director of Development Services. So, of course, everybody knows Fairfield Street's under construction. The old 2-inch service that went into the manor, they replaced it with a new service. So the county paid for that. So the developer, according to this condition, has to have that new service removed at his cost, and then all the other services, the 3 existing, or the 3 new services off of Hill Street. So I'd like that clarified in that condition also.
Matt?
Through the chair, so the intent of that condition is that it would be to the satisfaction of the director. And I did check with the development supervisor who's working on that project, on the Fairfield project, and the lateral is present in the street currently. So there would be no need for them to go back and reconstruct that. There's no intent to do that at all. I think the director would have the authority to say that condition has been met.
Just a quick follow-up on that.
Quick follow-up, yeah.
So I'm not talking sewer lateral, it's the new water service that they put in at the top of where the old driveway is going into the manor. That's where the new water service they put in, which by looking, why you would use it for that house on the corner, it makes no sense. But the condition 8 is saying they have to come off of Hill Street. So I guess, we want to make sure that new service that was put in to that property where the old driveway is removed as per the condition.
Matt?
We're going to script there. I wanted to do that. To go back.
Yeah. So through.
Read it.
I still have 2 pages left. I didn't even read.
Through the chair. So when the final design for this development comes through, it'll be reviewed by the project planner and the project engineer who's working on that, the reconstruction of Hill Street and Fairfield. And the developer will have to meet that condition. And my understanding is that I believe water will come off Fair Street and sanitary will go to Hill. But without the development engineer present, I can't say that for sure. But I think that condition is there to protect the county.
So with the street tore up, would it not be time now to decommission that service? Why would you want to tear up a new street? I guess I just don't understand it.
Through the chair, I believe we have John Gooding on the line. John, are you there? Are you able to answer these questions?
Yeah, through the chair, there was an existing 2-inch service for the manor off of Fairfield Street, so that could have remained. We downsized it to a 3/4 inch to reflect the new service, only a single dwelling versus the manor, and the purpose was for on Hill Street is just to recognize that he has to put in new services. It wasn't necessarily a technical requirement. If there's frontage on Fairfield, it's totally acceptable to have a water line off of that street as well.
Okay. Other questions? Councillor Maynard.
Thank you. On page 204, where we've got the sketches, and so I guess my question is the potential placement of the house practically right on the shared driveway or the right-of-way. And maybe first I ask, is it right-of-way for one portion, or is it a right-of-way for both over that shared driveway? Like when you see the sketch with where the shared driveway is.
So I guess that's to Matt.
So through the chair, the sketch that you're referring to shows 2 driveways. The most northerly one on the survey is identified as part 3, and that would go in favor of the retained lot, the new house. The portion on the south is identified as part 2, and it is on the PIN page for the adjacent property. So that's why it's illustrated that way. I'm not sure if that answers your question.
Okay. So I guess, whether we get another house on this lot or not, to me, it looked like if you put it at the back, it'd be a little more room. But to place a house right on the edge of the driveway, is that house going to have to? How do we make a little more room to make this a livable situation, really for both owners in the long run?
So through the chair,
do we have anything in the placement
the
of the house, or what the setbacks would have to be on that over that right of way?
Through the chair, the proposed zoning bylaw has a setback of 0.3 meters. So 30 centimeters from the right of way.
Does that help, Councillor Maynard?
Yeah, okay. It seems less than what is realistically adequate. But.
Any other questions of members of council? Madam Clerk?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Nyman, do you want to make that motion for condition number 15 to remove the words "if required"?
And also then on 14, to have in there that it's registered on title. Please.
Have you got a seconder? Low-hanging fruit, Councillor Harper. If you could read that, Madam Clerk, when you're done.
Through you, the chair. So that report DS-81-2020 of the Development Services dated July 29th, 2020 regarding consent file numbers B11-20, B12-20, etc., etc., be amended to include that condition 15, the words "if required" be removed, and that condition 14, the words "registered on title" be added.
Okay, any questions about the amendment? Okay, so we'll vote on that. All those in favor? And that carries. So we'll vote on the original motion as amended. And a show of hands, all those in favor?
Councillor Bullock?
Councillor Bullock, are you there?
I'm here.
Just want to know how you're voting on this. Are you voting in favor?
I am not.
Not, okay. Let's show of hands for opposed.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So what's the count, Madam Clerk?
So, through you, Mr. Mayor, so quorum with Councillor Bill Roberts and Councillor St. Jean not being present would be 12. Wait, sorry, not 12. So there's 12 of you, so 7. So that carries.
Carries? Okay, thank you. That moves us to item 8, bylaws for consideration. Item 8.1, if we could have a mover and a seconder for this, please. Councillor Harper, seconded by Councillor Prinzen.
So Harper Prinzen, motion that the following bylaws be read first, second, and third time and finally passed. Bylaw 8.1.1, a bylaw to amend county comprehensive zoning bylaw number 1816-2006, as amended, Rollins-Z64-18. And bylaw 8.1.2, a bylaw to amend county comprehensive zoning bylaw number 1816-2006, as amended, 9 Hill Street, Z8-20.
Thank you. All those in favor? And that carries. Item 9, confirmatory bylaw. Mover, a seconder for this, please. Councillor Margetson, seconded by Councillor McNaughton.
This is a Margetson-McNaughton motion, that the following bylaw be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. A bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the County of Prince Edward at the meeting held on July 29th, 2020.
Thank you. All those in favor? That carries. And item 10, adjourn, motion to adjourn. Councillor Bailey, seconded by Councillor Hirsch.
This is a Bailey Hirsch motion that this meeting now adjourn at 8:24 p.m.
Thank you. All those in favor? And that carries. Thank you, everyone.